Hello, Arsha. Thank you for that, Arsha. Good evening, Josephine. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Amira. Good evening, Aras. Hello, everyone. Hello from South Africa. Hello. You're from South Africa. So hello from UAE, I would say. Got it. Right. Perfect. Give it a few. Let me make sure everything is good to go. Can you see my screen? Yes, no, maybe. You can also confirm on the chat as well if you're able to see my screen. Yeah, perfect. Yes, we can. Perfect. Hello, everyone. Hello. All right, so we'll officially start our conversation. Visible and audible. Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Got it. All right, a wonderful be it morning, afternoon, or evening to everyone, whichever part of the world you're connecting from. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. I'm curious to know. Quickly type in the chat. I know someone from South Africa at the moment. Which country are you currently connecting from? Say, where are you currently? Just let's have a quick thing. Where's everyone coming from? From Uganda, but currently in UAE. Perfect. We see someone from South Africa. Good evening from UAE. US. Perfect. I would say good morning to you. UAE, region of Iraq, UAE, wide range of people coming from Abu Dhabi as well. Dubai from UAE. Perfect. Hello to everyone. Again, I can see everyone is coming from different parts of the globe. We're thrilled to have such a diverse and engaged audience with us for today or for this evening. Pleased to meet all of you. I'm sure some of you already know me or have spoken to me before, but for those who have not, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is John. I'm one of the admission advisors for International Teachers University USA. I've transformed the careers of over 3,000 teachers through specialized mentoring within Surasa. You can call me John. I'm honored to also be joined by distinguished group of guests, each bringing unique insights in the field of education. Our topic of what we will be talking about for today is teaching in 2025. What every teacher must know to stay ahead. Today is August 15th. Again, Friday, weekend is right around the corner. But first things first, I want to know as well, you can continuously use the chat, quickly type. If you were to describe what teaching today is in one word, what would it be? You know, if you were to describe how teaching is right now in 2025, what word would you use? Engaging, right? Compassion, hectic, definitely. Challenging, you're right on that. Three people, right? Boom, challenging. All same ones. Advanced, interactive, same goes. Innovation, tech savvy. So all of these words describes I would say like your perspective on how teaching is right now. Well, picture this, right? If we go back in 1995, a teacher stands at the front of the class, chalk in hand. The lesson flows in one clear stream. Teacher talks, student listens, pencils scribbling away. Everyone's on the same page, like literally, quite literally. Now, fast forward to 2025, the same classroom feels like an entirely different universe. I don't know if you agree with me on that, but the teacher is no longer a single voice on a radio. They're more of like the moderator of a group chat with 30 active members like going at it, sometimes even more. Each learning at a different pace, asking different questions, and needing different type of support, sometimes all under in just 1 minute. I guess you can say that if teaching used to be a lecture before, now in 2025, it's a live 30-way conversation you can't hit mute on, right? And this is the new reality. Teaching is no longer just about delivering information. The role of a teacher has shifted from simply delivering lessons to designing learning experience that are dynamic, personalized, and of course interactive. And that's the shift we're here to unpack today, right? How the role of a teacher has evolved, what every educator must know to stay ahead, and how can we thrive in the fast changing classroom of the future. To help me uncover such development, I'm happy to introduce our panelists for this evening. Please join me in welcoming our first panel. Let me see if we can pin them. Uh, right, there you go. Right, our first panel, I'm happy to introduce Dr. Lisa M. Jones, an educator with almost 3 decades of experience in teaching, curriculum development, and adult professional training. After building a remarkable career in Atlanta, she fulfilled her lifelong dream of teaching abroad. And now she works in the UAE. Dr. Lisa is also a devoted mom and a passionate advocate for women and the girls of color, mentoring and empowering them through her work with 3D Girls Incorporation. And she's a believer in the power of education to open doors, change lives, and create lasting impact. It's a delight to have you with us this evening, Dr. Lisa. How are you? How's your week? Yeah, could you unmute, please? I'm not able to hear you. Yeah, there you go. Hello?
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Perfect.
It's been a busy week. I just got back from the States like last Thursday, so got a little jet lag, but it's been good.
Perfect, perfect. I mean, one quick question to you here, since you are currently in the UAE now, given that you have moved from like your remarkable career in Atlanta to then teaching abroad here in the UAE, like, do you like what's the major difference, or what's one major difference you have seen so far, be it classroom to school to culture, whichever.
One thing is, I didn't know what to expect when I came abroad. But once you get into the schoolhouse, things are pretty much the same as
Hmm.
far as like the culture of the teachers and the students, the excitement. So the teaching part in it, I'm at an American school, so I'm still teaching the same standards and things.
Hmm.
And the parents want their kids to do good. The kids want to do good. They're excited to be there. So I would say that that is the same once you get into the schoolhouse. But for me, it's just like actually the culture, working a 4.5 day week, things like that, and just the time, and then the heat, of course.
Right.
But it's been wonderful. One thing I do like about it is also our students know so much about their culture and their background. And so in the States, it just seems so different because, we're from all over the place. I live in Atlanta. I lived in
Mhm.
Atlanta. So there's, that's a melting pot. But here it's a melting pot also. But the students and everybody, they know so much about their background, about their countries. And I find that fascinating.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we're excited to hear more insights as we go through this conversation. But let me introduce again, pleasure to meet you, Dr. Lisa. Let's move on to introducing our next panel for this evening. Our next panel is a seasoned international school leader whose career spans over 35 countries. Not 35 years in 5 countries, sorry. He has led schools across Asia and the Middle East with a strong focus on student-centered learning, intercultural understanding, and educational innovation. His global perspective, combined with a deep belief in empowering both students and educators, make him a powerful voice in today's conversation in the future of education. Let's welcome Dr. Andrew. It's a pleasure to have you here this evening, Dr. Andrew.
Thanks, Dan. Really nice to be here. I look forward to these conversations every time we host them.
Right, and I'm excited as well. One quick thing here. We've mentioned how our audience today describes teaching today in one word. But I want to hear your perspective, like your unique perspective as an established leader in the field of education. In one word, how would you describe like education in this day and age?
Oh my goodness, dynamic.
Mm.
That's my favorite word these days. We've actually incorporated that word into our mission statement at our school now. Dynamic, drives change, drives sites, drives potential to me, and it's a very applicable word.
Perfect, perfect. Got it. And thank you so much for sharing that. Let me just introduce our last panel for this evening. And our last panel is currently the head of the academic program specialist and one of the teaching faculty in the International Teachers University. And with over 2 decades of diverse teaching experience in both in the US and internationally, including Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Korea, China, and also in the UAE, teaching both high school and college levels. Known for his passion for teaching and the professional development of current and future educators, his dedication to the field is truly inspiring. We're excited to have him with us this evening. Welcome, Mr. Peter. How are you? Mr. Peter, how are you?
Good, Jan. How are you? Nice to see.
All good. Nice to see you as well. One thing that I would like to ask, I would like to get your thoughts on. What would you say? I would say like the best thing about being a teacher trainer, given like how education or teaching has changed like over the years.
The best part of teacher training, well, I would say that just working with teachers is inspiring. I meet lots of really interesting people with diverse backgrounds, different expertise, different subjects, different grade levels. My experience is mostly high school and a little bit of college. And so working with teachers that might be teaching middle school or elementary school, I learned so much from them. And so that's probably the best part about doing this.
Perfect. And that goes on to the perspective of lifelong learner. Even Mr. Peter is excited to learn more about different cultures and different perspective
Indeed.
of teaching. Perfect. Got it. So, with that being said, hearing the initial insights from our panel makes me realize that many teachers today are giving their all. When it comes to teaching, right? And they're showing up, adapting, working harder than ever. But the reality is like the teaching has changed. It's not just about delivering lessons anymore. And I'm sure people will agree with me on that. The roles, the expectations, the skills that truly open up new opportunities, they've evolved quietly. I wouldn't even say quietly. I wouldn't even say quietly over time. But so let's begin exploring what really has shifted and how teachers can align themselves with this change to grow, lead, create impact in the remainder of 2025, even 2026. So, going on to the first question towards you, Dr. Andrew, and to get this conversation going. From your experience, how has the role of a teacher evolved over the last decade?
Mm. Well, it's been interesting last 10 years in schools. To put it in perspective, we have had a technological revolution that has restarted in the last 2 years. We had a devastating pandemic, devastating in human toll, and also within the bounds of our schools. Our children's education was dramatically affected. And I think those two major pieces added to the revelations around emerging educational research around assessment, the effects of quality teaching, um, uh, social emotional learning, all have led us to number one, understand that the center of our classrooms must be focused on the students themselves and their needs. The personalization of that education is becoming more and more important, and ultimately that mentorship and emotional support piece that we're
Hmm.
asking teachers to engage with classroom to classroom, class to class, is probably front and center every day of our lives. We are still repairing ourselves from
Yeah.
a pandemic, and then on top of it, we have marvelous technology tools that are pushing us to include each individual's child's needs step by step moving forward. That personalization is within reach, and parents are kind of beginning to kind of clue into the fact that each of their children's needs are different than others, but they are expecting schools to deliver on that. So that emotional support, that mentorship, the teaching of soft skills, the incorporation of technology, and then putting the student at the center, being instead of an instructor, you're a facilitator, has really changed the way we are doing our jobs now.
Right. And you're definitely correct. It's a technological revolution that, as you put it, has restarted. It's not like something that's continuously going, but it has restarted. And pandemic really changing a lot of things with the education. And of course, being student centric in approach of education is something this is a big coming up in the education field as of the moment. Any thoughts to add on this from your perspective, Dr. Lisa, Mr. Peter? Yeah.
Yes, I know. When I first started teaching, like way back in 1998, I believe, it was about content. So, you taught the standards, they knew it, blooms, it was like the basics they recall. And so now it's like we're facilitating and the students are guiding the learning. We want to know not just if you know it, but how do you know it? Why do you know it? How do you get the answers? So it's more student based, and we're just guiding the learning, which is good. I think that is really good. And I remember my daughter, I tried to teach her multiplication facts, and I was trying to teach her, and she was in second grade, and she's only 24 now. So after I started teaching her, she was like, but why? But why does 4 times 4 equal 16? And I'm like, we learned it that way. Why do you need to know why? But I think that that's really great, that they want to know why, that they do inquire about things. They have, that knowledge. So it's changed a lot.
Right. And as it's not just our experience as a teacher that changed, but we can see it from our children, how they're being taught as well, and how their schools changed over time. So and it boils down to you even as a parent. Say for example, even if you're not a teacher, your kid will ask you, why is this? Right? And you have to come up with an answer because it's not like, oh, this is this, but why is this? Right?
Mhm.
I don't know if that made I don't know if from your perspective, Dr. Lees, or from anyone from our panel, like, some might say that's students knowing more about the topic. Does that make the lesson easier, or does that make the teaching harder?
Mm.
Right. Because if they know more, it's a lot less work from your side to bring out more. But of course, since they know more, you have to facilitate about like more learning more about like why is this, right? So there's that kind of perspective. Right. And question towards you, Mr. Peter. What new expectations do schools or institutions now have from teachers beyond academics?
Um, Beyond academics. Well, I guess there's a couple of ways that you could approach that. I guess from a teacher perspective, I think the expectations of teachers beyond academics, kind of like what Dr. Andrew brought up earlier with regards to COVID, is teachers need to be adaptable. I think sometimes, and I'll include myself this way, we become a little bit dogmatic. We get used to our approaches. We get caught in certain routines, and education is totally not like that. There's all sorts of unexpected things that change, that can go wrong, that are unexpected. You have to be able to improvise. So adaptability is
Mm,
obviously incredibly important. I think it's important for teachers to be lifelong learners and
Mhm.
sort of impart that to their students. I know
mm,
that when I was in the classroom, I used to talk with I had high school students, so maybe this might be different if you're working with younger kids, but I used to talk with my students about what I was reading. I would recommend books. They would go and buy them and talk with me about them. So, kind of modeling that type of intellectual behavior, I think, is incredibly important. I think it's important for teachers to read, read books and follow the news and, have a global mindset. I think it's important for teachers to always be engaging in professional development, whether it's attending conferences. Maybe your school has, you can get a stipend to go, attend some professional development, or whether you're putting on professional development for your colleagues. I know that in many schools that I've worked at, we have kind of internal PD days where the
mhm,
teachers take on certain topics and they teach them to their colleagues. And
Mhm.
so I think that type of activity is incredibly important. I'm thinking like collaboration or working in PLCs where you have kind of a structured, organized, systematic approach to how you're
mhm,
going to solve certain problems, or embark on new teaching strategies or looking at student data. So I would say outside the classroom, Those types of things are really important. I think a couple other things very quickly. I think schools are looking for teachers that can establish meaningful relationships with their colleagues and their students, have positive working relationships. And finally, if you've ever taught IB or if you know anything about IB has kind of the international mindedness and the learner portfolio. And I think it's really important for teachers to kind of have those attributes as well, to be knowledgeable, to be good communicators, to be caring, to take risks in the classroom, right? Practice reflective teaching. So I think those are some of the things that I think are important for teachers to be able to do and perfect outside of just teaching their students and their
Perfect.
content.
Perfect. You mentioned, of course, content knowledge is there, but outside, like the academics, being adaptable, being lifelong learner, professional developments among conference PDs, and also, of course, establishing meaningful relationship with colleagues is the best way forward if you really want to meet, what the schools or institutions are really looking for as of 2025 or even more recent. Your perspective on this, Dr. Lisa, curious to know in your journey, right? Be it from academic or non-academic, like what personal shift did you have to make to stay relevant in ever-changing classroom?
Definitely being flexible.
Mm,
But that's just something teachers, like you said, you have things come up, the computer might go down, all those things, but being able to adapt yourself to those. Now, me, because I'm a veteran teacher, I don't have a problem doing that. But I know some teachers may because they're used to having the internet. I came on, there was no internet. We used each other. We collaborated with each other. We read articles. I did the mailbox, the magazines, and all those things. So I was able to be creative on my own. And I
mm,
think that has helped as a teacher, in it this long. So now, they only have to push a button. So I had to change and start pushing buttons. And
mm,
it wasn't easy, it took my students, it took my daughter, like I'd have her come over, can you pull this up, and some of my younger colleagues to help me. But I had to be flexible. I had to get on board because these students are not the students that sit in their seat. They're not the ones that are going to sit in their seat and be quiet. That's not how it is nowadays. Their technology, they're used to being stimulated. So it's whatever we can do to keep them hooked and interested. And so I had to go out there and find out some things. Like my kids write stories. I remember we used to send them off to get published. Everybody had one page in this book. Now this year, I taught first grade this year, and they did a whole book. There's technology online where they went in, they illustrated, they found the pictures, and so all these things, and these are first graders, so it's just amazing what they can do. But yeah, I had to adapt myself to the learning styles of the learners today.
right. Technology really is the biggest thing. Coming from an age wherein there's no button to even be pressed before. Unlike right now, it's like everything is just on your fingertips. Yeah, definitely adaptability is the biggest thing. Because even if you have technology, technology can fail. So
Mhm.
having the adaptability to do, what's next without like, if this doesn't fail is
Mhm.
also part of it. Any last few thoughts on your side, Dr. Andrew?
Well, I think Lisa it, answers a lot of the questions. That let me encapsulate that in more a holistic way for me. I see the need for for really great educators, and everybody wants to be one who's on this call. They're given their time this evening or morning to listen to us because they're curious. And I will say, um, be an adventurer, explore, exploit the creativity options that you have in front of you. These wonderful tools that Lisa was referring to for our students give us the opportunity to think in different ways to deliver the outcomes that we're being asked to be delivered upon. So it doesn't necessarily have to be all the way we did it back when we were in school. The kids are different. We have to be different. So be an explorer, be creative, be unique, and do something that's really going to meet the needs of these kids where they are at.
Exactly. Mhm.
Perfect. And that encapsulate holistically of regarding our first topic. So thank you so much for sharing such great insights for you, Dr. Lisa, Mr. Peter, and Dr. Andrew. It's evident that the role of a teacher today really goes far beyond textbook, far beyond content. There's adaptability. There's other things that they need to look at, including technology, including student-centered focus approach and things like that. So with all these changes, one shift is impossible to ignore. And that's, of course, the rise of technology in the education field, as Dr. Lisa mentioned. Whether it's streamlining tasks that were quite a headache to do before, or creating a more personalized learning experience, technology, especially AI, is becoming a powerful ally for educators. So let's ask our audience about their usage of AI. There's a poll that will come up on your screen right now. You can again press a button and you can vote on what your answer will be. So as an educator, which use case of AI excites you the most? Is it making lessons more interactive? Or do you use AI for grading and admin tasks? Is it to personalize student learning? Or is it, or are you still figuring out the right tool, the right AI, the right technology to use? Right? So let's have these answers coming in. I can see most of our votes that are coming in right now are more about making lessons more interactive. Hmm.
Mm.
Perfect. Perfect. Let's ask our panel that we have. I'm sure our panels also use AI in their education life. Let's do one by one. Let's start with you, Mr. Peter. Do you use AI? What's your most use case for AI?
Um, well, I left the classroom before ChatGPT launched, so as a teacher, I didn't really use it. Right now, uh, basically for brainstorming or
Hmm.
for just like a kind of a glorified search engine. I've used it maybe to write maybe like a formal email or something like that. I don't really use it to supplement my own creativity. I do it more for busy work, but I
Hmm.
do use it for brainstorming occasionally. In
Perfect.
my
And
personal,
on
yeah.
Right. All right. And on your side, Dr. Lisa, have you found on your use case for AI on your everyday teaching or life in general?
Well, this year was the first time I ever used ChatGPT, and I've been using it, especially with my new role. So I've been using it a lot, and I did use it a lot for PDs, for professional development, getting it organized, parent letters, you know, putting in like the correct way, making it professional, forms. So I have used it more than I thought. And then we just
Mm,
started a new one, Magic School. And so we just got introduced to it. And as soon as I went in, I was able to do lesson plans. I was able to do a professional development for my inclusion teachers. And I mean, they even gave you the starting activity. It was
mm,
amazing. It is just amazing. But I just think it's important too, even if you do use it to do a lesson plan, that teachers realize they still have to put their own personal touch and go in and change it for their students, adapt it to their students. So you just can't go in and just, and say, hey, I'm going to teach it. It's still important that you make it your own and gear it to your students. So I'm finding that too. But it's been
100%.
mm,
100%. And I usually say like that's what separates a good teacher to a great teacher, right? You can use AI and create with a lesson plan, but a great teacher personalizes that, and making sure that whatever is the output of the AI is personalized for the needs of the classroom, right?
Mhm.
For like how you want to use it. And you brought up a great point that also Dana, not Dana, sorry, someone else brought up, that we have to be able to use them effectively when it comes to personalizing it to our practice. How about on your side, Dr. Andrew?
I use it constantly. I have a tool for organizing my email. It sorts my emails for me, crafts responses for me that I then go in and edit and personalize. So it saves me probably 3 to 5 hours a week of email time. I use it for if I need research on a particular topic. Somebody comes in and says, "Hey, I was wondering about that." I'm like, "Yeah, I read something about that," and you're sort of drawing back from your past memories about other things, but like the details you're sort of a little bit fuzzy on, you can't quite remember. So I'll jump into either Perplexity or ChatGPT or Gemini, whichever one I kind of happen to have up in front of me at the time, and type myself in a little question and prompt to help myself brainstorm. I'll sit down with people around my machine or throw it up on the screen in my office and say, well, this is what this is saying. Let's look at the links and go and follow the research trail along that way. I use Grammarly to make sure that my writing doesn't look horrible and my commas are in the right spot and I don't look like a complete and utter idiot when I'm typing sometimes. It's a wonderful tool that helps us look good when I'm crafting the massive amount of communication that I go out. So it helps me in that regard. I also use tools in Copilot to help me put together presentations, dress up my slides, make sure I'm communicating visually effectively as well as verbally and in writing. So all these things are helping me be a better communicator ultimately. But the thing is, and this is the thing that really is why I think this is important. In my role, my front and center most important thing are students, parents, and teachers.
Hmm.
Typically in that order, although teachers don't like to hear that very often. But honestly, this gives me more time to be front and center and focused and being able to give them the time that they need. It's helping me to be more human,
Hmm.
essentially. And
Right.
and I'm not up until 10, 11 o'clock at night catching up on the billions of emails. I'm not having to spend more time. So then I get to the gym. I eat better. I'm a healthier human being as well. So all these things lead down to just a better me as a result of this wonderful technology.
You're right. And that saving time is a big aspect so that you can focus on other things, be it yourself, be it other most important tasks as well. And
Yeah,
it's
well,
interesting to see. Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
I think I will just add one thing, and because some people are always like, "Well, you let it write your emails for you." I'm like, "Well, no, it doesn't write my email for me. It drafts them." But the
Yeah.
thing is, you have to really protect yourself from giving away your humanness.
Hmm.
Yes. Mhm.
And I think that's really got to be our mindset moving forward. And that's got to be a skill we're going to have to be teaching our students in the classrooms.
Mhm.
Right. Right, and then it's quite interesting to see how each of you is engaging with our our panel for today is engaging with technology in different ways. So we have someone from you have Mr. Peter who's does still wants to have his creative ness on his own, but uses it in some other aspects. We have Dr. Lisa who's introduced this year to other AI tools and amazed about investigating figuring these things out. And we also have Dr. Andrew who's efficient, saving 3 to 5 hours of their time to put into other most important things and still be, and be more human about the education field. And that brings us to actually our next focus. And this goes into the what Dr. Andrew mentioned earlier. It's not just to use tech, but also to becoming fluent in it, to teach it, not just to ourselves, but to be able to teach it as well on how to use it to our students. Because as classrooms evolve, so must our ability to adapt, to integrate, and lead with the right set of tools. And that our second segment focuses on tech fluency and AI integration. So, Dr. Lisa, given your decades of teaching experience, right, I'm sure you agree that many educators feel overwhelmed by the pace of new tools, as you have mentioned. So, from your journey, how did you start integrating technology or tech into your teaching?
Well, like I said in the beginning, I was afraid. I was afraid of technology, and used it
Mm,
very limited, only like what I had to learn, inputting grades and those things like that. And so it was very, very limited. But I've been out of the classroom for a while, and I just went back like 2 years ago. So when I went back to the
no.
classroom, that's when I started to dive in a little bit deeper. And I didn't have a choice. Like I said, I didn't have a choice. I remember I didn't know how to use the active board, and things like that. So I had to ask, and I was not ashamed. And my students were more than willing to help. But, it was like I didn't have a choice. And so, like we talked about,
Mm,
being adaptable. So I just had to dig in. And the students, they're used to being on the computer. So I'm still one of those teachers that would limit their time on the computer. I still
mm,
wanted them to have a book in their hand. So, you know what I mean? Like if you get done with your studies, get done with your assignments, then you maybe can have some computer time. Or what's been great is being able to use the different programs on the computer to differentiate. So I'll go into a program and I'll be able to differentiate towards each student's needs. So it does
mm,
personalize it and make it easier. We're getting ready to start an intervention program, and we'll be able to take the data from our map test and things like that and input it into the program, and it'll come up with a plan for each individual student. So I see the benefits of it, and so the more I see the benefits, the more I'm willing to just dig in and sit down and get into it. So I've come a long way, which I'm sure a lot of teachers that started back when I started have. And so I see the benefits definitely, but I still think you should have a balance.
right, right. And doing that for since you mentioned you came back for about 2 years now, you came back into the education and teaching in a classroom, and having that kind of I would say progress when it comes to technology in 2 years.
Mhm.
That's with a lot of things going on as well.
Choice.
And I'm sure most of, if not some of our audience, will feel the same thing as well. They feel right now that they have no choice but to adapt to, get this technology and learn this technology. I want to throw it towards Dr. Andrew. For those people who feel like they have this scaredness of feeling about technology, what's one mindset shift teachers need to adapt to become more confident when it comes to using tech in the classroom?
Well, and going back to something I said a little bit earlier, let me elaborate a little bit. I really do think that everyone can be easily intimidated or just put off by a steep learning curve initially around a new tool or a new idea. That's human nature. Um, and so we have to make sure, if we are going to survive and thrive in an educational career, that we could say what Peter mentioned earlier, that growth mindset, life being a lifelong learner, and rather than viewing technology as a scary thing, reframe that. Look at it as an opportunity and a tool, an opportunity to experiment, to play, move into it within a playful way, and make mistakes, try, I used to, when I was teaching PD classes, when I was a PD specialist back in my school district in the United States, early in my career, my initial thing I always said to my students was, your goal today is to try to break it.
Mm.
See if you can break it. They can't. You can't break a computer typically, other than drop it on the floor, by the way. The software does not break. It just doesn't happen. You can do bad things to the machine, but the software you can't break. So, but try to break it. See what you can do. See if you can crash your machine. And occasionally when a machine would crash, we would celebrate with that individual who was really mad they lost their work or something. But you know what? That playful attitude, that growth mindset, viewing technology is something that's evolving. It's an opportunity. It's a toolkit. Allowing yourself trial and error, making mistakes, sharing that with your students, being a model for that, is such a great opportunity for everybody in every classroom.
Right, right. And definitely with, have really, it's more about the way Dr. Lisa and Dr. Andrew mentioned is it's more about finding the right balance and really accepting the technology is here to stay. And still, if you're someone like, there's an interesting discussion I was reading coming up on the chat about AI and using it. But really, it's striving the balance of how to use it, and finding what's the right way for you. And
Yeah,
but the main,
and I will add something. I read,
yeah.
it's an old quote that's being updated now.
Mhm.
The old quote, which is now updated, says, AI will not replace teachers, but AI will replace teachers who don't embrace AI.
Yes.
There you go.
I believe it.
There you go. There you
So,
go.
ultimately, we're going to have to get on board with this, figure out how to help our students be more engaged in their learning, and we've got to teach them, like I am in my work, to look to their humanness. What is it that makes us special as organisms and human beings that the machines can't do?
Yeah.
Right. And anything to add on this, Mr. Peter, on your perspective as a teacher trainer?
Um, I would say that as a teacher, I mean, I remember feeling like Dr. Lisa did, where I wasn't really skeptical, and I'm certainly not a Luddite, but I was like, do I really need this? Is it really necessary? And I think maybe, I don't know about other subjects, but as a high school English teacher, there were many times when I was using tech, maybe Google Docs or certain forms, or maybe a couple different websites, but I can't say that I was using it all the time. I was using it for very specific tasks. And then but I did at some point make the decision that I did want to kind of broaden my horizons. And so,
Mm.
I remember, as a high school teacher, you're always in conversation with the administrators, like your principal, you're setting goals. And I remember setting goals for myself. I'm gonna find 2 new tools this semester and integrate them into my practice. I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself. I'm busy. I don't have time to like be scouring the internet trying to find new tools all the time. But I'll ask my colleagues. I'll collaborate with them. I'll get their insights. I'll find out what works and what doesn't. And I just think, like, for me at least, I didn't want to treat tech like it's like like a shiny toy or something that, like, kind of a glittering bauble that kind of, distracts you. Like, I want to use tools that are going to be useful, right?
Mm.
That actually help teaching and learning rather than just kind of superficial bells and whistles. And so you can kind of find those tools. And so if
Right.
you use them correctly, they're not really, it takes a dedicated and professional teacher to use them appropriately, where they're using it for certain purposes and not letting the tool kind of do the job for them. And I think that as a teacher, you need to figure out the times when it's really useful. Like, just to give a banal example, like sometimes it's useful to like use Padlet, right? That's fine. But on another day, maybe it's better to like have students stand up and get out of their desks and use a Post-it note and stick it on the wall and do a gallery walk, right? That maybe that's better on some days, right? So you don't want to be a slave to it. You want to use it appropriately and eschew it when you don't think it'll work very well, right? And so, and the final thing I would say is, again, I don't think anyone's going to do the work for you. If you want to improve using technology, you are going to have to kind of take that responsibility to see what's on the market, go out there. It can be very overwhelming because there's new tools all the time, but you always want to stay in touch with your colleagues, find out what they're using, and don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just like integrate one or two tools at a time, get used to them, and then over time, you'll accumulate more and more tools and more skills.
Perfect. And that's the most, I would say, practical way to do it. Do it one at a time. See the strengths and weaknesses of that tool, and how how it affects your teaching and how it affects your classroom. And eventually you'll find that you have the mastery of other tools, so that those resources, how to use it, when to use it, when not to use it. That's the biggest thing. Perfect. So moving forward away from technology, we've discussed technology and how it's changing and how people need to focus and adapt to technology in some ways or another in our current time in education. So let's focus now on the teaching, on the pedagogical shifts when it comes to the teaching methods. Dr. Andrew, from your leadership lens, right? What major pedagogical shifts have you observed, like, in recent years, that truly impacted learning outcome?
Yeah. Good question. I think first and foremost, we over the last decade, maybe more, maybe even the last 2 decades, education has been shifting more and more to be a student-centered experience and process. You said you started teaching in the 1990s, Lisa. In 1986, when I started teaching, we were taught to deliver lessons that drove a learning objective, and we were focused in my teacher education experiences around developing the best learning objectives possible, because then we would know what to teach instead of being focused on what the students need. We didn't think about the idea of pre-assessment. We didn't think about how we could increase student agency. We didn't have a conversation ever in faculty around learning data patterns, looking at where our students were scoring across a set of assessments. The most important issue we ever had, that we ever conversed about as far as assessment goes, was around end of unit or end of week lessons and assessments, and then thinking about how we might need to go back and reteach certain things because more than 20% of your entire class didn't happen to understand that particular skill. That's heresy now, because we should be thinking about every child. We have the ability, the technology, and the understanding of how to assess on the fly. We have beautifully crafted formative and summative assessment strategies that we can implement in our lessons throughout an instructional pattern of time, beginning, middle, and end of a lesson. And frankly, when I go into a classroom to observe a teacher, it is my expectation that there is clear evidence of student learning throughout the lesson. Engagement. Beginning and end. But what that comes back to, Dan, is this idea that it's the student at the center of the process, and that idea of potentially truly personalizing that instruction is of the end goal. And so here in the UAE, we talk about meeting the needs of our high ability students, our low ability students. our Amrati students, our
Mm.
boys, our girls, our students with learning needs. All of those 6 groups of students, and that pretty much encapsulate almost everybody in the entire classroom to classroom. We are holding ourselves and are held accountable to meeting the needs of all of those kids all the time. And the only way you can do that is to make sure you understand the needs of your students and
Right.
understand them as human beings, as children, as people, as learners, and understand the gifts and the challenges they bring to the classroom.
Perfect. It's really crazy to think that something that was so normal before when it comes to techniques in teaching is considered as a heresy in 2025. That's such crazy thing to think about. Anything to add on this on your side, Dr. Lisa?
Yeah, I think about this has been one of the best years as an educator for me because I started I was blessed right when Fontes and Panella came out. That's when I first started teaching. So I had like 5 years training. And now
Mhm.
through the science of reading, they talk about how things have changed. But this year, I was able to implement all the things I've learned throughout the years. And build my students. So I took what was good because it takes a balance. You can't just throw out anything. And I think the science of reading is just good teaching. So I was able to take the things that I've learned, the different programs, and it's been many, 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 and use it in my classroom. And that has been amazing. So one time you asked me like the change of being coming from the US to here, it was really a blessing because I have the same standards, but I was able to grow my students from the things that I've learned. So some things that the way we taught before, it's still the same. Students still learn differently. We have different kind of learners. We have different kind of teaching styles. But like Andy said, it's the student. It's student focused. I was able to differentiate and give each one of my students what they needed, and they excelled, and it was awesome. So I think that we can reflect on our own teaching styles and things, and know that there is not just one way to do things. We have new things we're learning, bringing in like technology and things like that. But good teaching focuses on the student, where they're at, and growing them. And so I've been able to do that, and that has been wonderful being over here in the UAE.
Perfect. And that thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Lisa. Now, from the perspective of Mr. Peter, we've seen how the teaching methods shifted, the pedagogical, I would say, strategies on how to approach teaching has shifted from the perspective of educators, from the perspective of teachers. Now, I want to hear your perspective when it comes to being an education teacher educator, right? How institutions rethinking teaching strategies when it comes to aligning them with how students learn today?
Mhm. Well, like Dr. Andrews said before, we want to think of teachers as not, we don't want to think of teaching as the banking model where we're just purely disseminating information to students. We want to create kind of learning environments where we want to create kind of constructivist classrooms where we're connecting student learning to their previous experiences. We are connecting it to their backgrounds, their individual backgrounds, their kind of cultural backgrounds. And so I remember when I was in the classroom, being an English, I don't know if this is easier for other subjects or not, but being an English teacher is very easy for me to, whatever we're doing in class, to have students make text to self and text to world connections. And those are always the things that were sort of those sticky moments where students would kind of remember their learning, remember what they're supposed to remember, because it's being connected to something that's meaningful for them. Obviously, we want our classrooms to be kind of busy, messy, right? We want them to be differentiated. They should be noisy. They should be working in groups. They should be changing desks. We should be shifting them around. They should be working, in flexible groups, all of those things. And I think the other important thing is, and this goes back to just working in international schools, sort of teaching strategies and teaching methods and teaching the planning that teachers do. A lot of the schools that I worked at were really kind of committed to understanding by design, like the McTighe and Wiggins model. And so it was really important to be able to identify what are the skills and knowledge that we want students to have within our discipline. We want to determine what types of evidence are appropriate for that, and then backward plan our lessons. So we're using formative assessment in a recursive way. And as Dr. Andrews said at the beginning, during, at the end of class, want to keep doing formative assessment, keep giving students feedback, right, and opportunities to make corrections, and give them opportunities to practice. So then at the end of the unit, they could do some sort of authentic assessment, right? So education, sure, or what we do in the classroom and the activities that we do and the success criteria that we create for them should be practice for them to take those skills that they've learned and transfer them into a new context by creating authentic assessments graded with a rubric rather than, multiple choice and bubble tests, right? So I think that for teachers, at least in my experience, it was always really important to kind of ditch the textbook and kind of be searching, researching, finding your own sources, creating your own sources. You know what your students need. You know the skills that they're supposed to develop based on the standards. And so you go out and find those resources or create them yourself, and then create lessons that give them those skills. Don't penalize them for being wrong, so they can transfer those skills in other contexts.
Wow. Thank you so much for such insights on pedagogical shifts, and that should really put a lot of thought when it comes to our teachers today on how to do their class, how to prepare for it. So as we move into our final segment, we want to kind of like reflect on how educators can continue to evolve, not just by adapting new methods, but by embracing the mindset of lifelong learning and adaptability is something that we've mentioned before. So to start this reflection, we'd like to hear from our audience. So there will be a poll that will be coming up on your screen again. Click of a button, you can answer what's going on. So one question here is that what do you see? I would say, like, what is the biggest barrier for you when it comes to preventing teachers from adapting to change? So I know we've had a conversation about, okay, teachers need to be adaptable. We need to learn and figure out these new things and change ourselves. But of course, there's going to be some struggles. What is that struggle for you, right? What is that biggest barrier? Is it lack of time? Is it the limitation of training? Is it insufficient school support, or there's no I would say there's lack of resources? Is it student engagement issues? The answer that is coming up on the screen right now really show how much teachers are doing, how teachers are doing a lot of things. It just shows that most people are saying it's lack of time. It is. There's usually it's lack of time. The next answer that is coming up as well is like limited training. PDs, be it from their school or from their own. But yeah, most people are saying lack of time. Do we agree on that? I would say is this consistent to what our panel have experienced from their perspective? How about you, Dr. Andrew?
I, time is always lack of time is a very, very common concern across the many schools that I've worked in. And yeah, I mean, I get it. I get it. It's one of the reasons why I'm always seeking tools to help me to gain back some of those lost moments and so I can use it another way. So yeah, I agree with that. The other piece is, and I think that It's kind of goes with what Peter said. Try not to look at the learning as in holistic terms, but instead take a little bit at a time, take a
Mhm.
small bit, step by step. So I used to say in China, man lai, one step at a time, one stone at a time. You know, it's like you just there go. You know, there's only one way to eat an elephant, one bite at a time. All those little funny sayings that we all say about how to learn big things. But we have an opportunity to change our lives by learning new things. And when we change our lives, we change our people's lives. So I try to inspire myself by thinking about what's the end goal, what's the shiny goal, what's the big picture here, and how my little steps can get me there. You know, the football team says, you know, 1% better every day. Well, you do 1% every day, you know, 100 days, you're 100% better. So, you know, that's kind of my perspective on it. I'm
Go.
sort of hurt and always sad to see the number 2 and the number 3 pieces you have there, Dan. Limited training
Right.
and school support. You know, that's a leadership problem. And even if it maybe is perceptual, that's a perception that needs to be battled at the leadership level. And you know, it's like what Lisa and I do every day, just seeking to find pathways and show people the opportunities that are in front of them. The International Teachers University is a great, you know, certainly a great opportunity as well. That sits in the laps of the teachers. People will say, "Well, I don't have time," but are you sure?
Yeah,
There's always something you can do to make yourself better.
exactly.
Right, right. And on the perspective of insufficient school support, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, Dr. Lisa. As you mentioned, you and Dr. Andrew were working towards these three things. But how about like insufficient school support, the perspective of this? Any thoughts on that?
I don't know. I've been very blessed that I've had pretty much good support from my administration.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm one of those people, if I don't know how to do something, then I'm going to either ask somebody or find a class or whatever I need to do it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I remember when I first started teaching way back in the day, that I was so afraid that my first graders would not know how to read when they left me. So that summer, I'll never forget. I went and took some PDs at the district level. There were always opportunities, but you have to, as an educator, you know, it has to be your choice to do that, to seek those things, to make yourself better. Also, as an academic
Mm-hmm.
coach, I'm total ELA. I'm language, and so my weakness was math. So I made myself the math ambassador, and I went to all the district things on math so that I could help my teachers. So it has to come from within what you want to do. And I think Andrew, you said this, that you know teachers are life learners. So I am always learning. I'm always looking at new things, excuse me, and new ways that I can help my students and my teachers as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's there, but you have to take it upon yourself to seek it. And if you don't have that support, maybe in your school, I have a lot of other teachers and teacher friends in other places, and I would go to them. So their education, you know, we collaborate, you know, smarter, not harder. You know, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel and do things. So somebody is usually always out there to help you and help you grow. So
Perfect, perfect. So it's more about communication, making sure you put yourself out there to reach out for help, collaborate with other teachers as well. And about how about on your side, Mr. Peter, specifically for those people who feel like their biggest barrier for adapting to change is having limited training.
Um, I'm not sure. I mean, most of the schools where I've worked at have had good support. We've had good training. If you feel like you don't have enough training, unfortunately, you'll just have to kind of find the time to do it on your own. There's been circumstances where I've had to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
you have to find those moments because time is precious. And let's be honest, if you're working all day and You have to grade 100 papers over the weekend. The last thing you want to do in your spare time is be searching the internet, working, right? You need some downtime as well. But lack of time, limited training, it is a problem. And like Dr. Andrews said, there is AI that can kind of help shave off a few moments while you're at work that you can kind of improve on certain aspects of your teaching.
Perfect, perfect. So, just to sum it up, resources are available wherever you may look into, be it to shave off time or to find time, to shave off some other things that you can do, to find other resources, to reach out to different, colleagues if you feel like there's insufficient school support. So teachers are really a tough bunch, aren't they? Given how fast the field is changing and still juggling these struggles to try and keep up with the pace, it's just mind blowing. And to help with this struggles and transition, and again, this is for anyone, but I would like to start, I guess, from the perspective of Mr. Peter, right? What is one concrete thing a teacher can do, I would say, next week to address the top barrier we just saw on the poll, which is lack of time?
I don't know about lack of time, but what I will say is if you want to, the advice I would give, and this is just what I've done in my own personal life, the advice that I would give is if you want to stay ahead with with the changes happening in education, you always want to kind of diversify your instruction and try new things by doing research. Dr. Andrews said earlier that, if you use your laptop, it's not going to break. And that's true. If you try something in class and it doesn't work out, no one's going to die. It's okay to make mistakes in the classroom. Sometimes things work and they work brilliantly, and other times they go horribly wrong and the activity didn't work. And then you learn from it, you reflect, you make adjustments and changes, and you move on. But I think that in order to kind of diversify your instruction, try new things, I think you do need to have your ear to the floor and kind of be aware of certain trends that are going on in education. I mean, there are trends, there are buzzwords, they ebb and flow. You'll hear these buzzwords, differentiation 1 week or 1 year, inclusion the next year, 21st century skills another year, so on and so forth. And just be aware of those trends, listen for those words, study the latest vocabulary. And the last thing I would say, and I've actually done this, is if you think about all the different aspects of teaching and learning, and again, you do it piecemeal, but you should probably find like one kind of reputable scholar or source or guru that is recognizable in the field and kind of follow them, see what they're doing, read some of their articles. You can find stuff for free online, whether it's differentiation, lesson planning, metacognition, grading and reporting, any other topic. The information is out there. And so if you do it piecemeal, you find those reputable scholars or educational gurus, follow them on their websites or watch some of their videos on YouTube, and just kind of stay in the game, pick up different tidbits that you could start experimenting with in your classroom. That's what I would say.
Perfect. So your advice, yeah. Anything to add on is Dr. Lisa?
Yeah, I would say also for me, I agree with everything you said. But I always do a to-do list. Every morning I do a to-do list every morning, and then I try to prioritize it. What can I do quickly? And the other thing I was going to say, as a coach, an academic coach, I always told my teachers, especially my new teachers, you can't do everything. So you pick one thing that you're going to try to master that year, and you focus on that one thing, doing the best you can at that one thing, and then once you feel comfortable with that, then add something on. But, give yourself grace and don't try to do everything, because you're not going to be good at anything. So, just taking the time and like I said, giving yourself grace. But yeah, that to-do list every day. And some things are on there every day for a week or two. But there are things that I am checking off and I can see what I've done and that I am being productive. So I think that does help.
Perfect. There's something so satisfying about crossing something off your to-do list. There's just something about it that that's just really satisfying. Yeah. So on your perspective as an educational leadership background, Dr. Andrew, I would say like what's one piece of advice you would give to teachers who want to stay ahead in today's changing classroom? Just to sum up
Um,
everything, one piece of
you
advice.
know, I think I don't know if Lisa intended to answer this question, but she did when she said, I didn't know much about mathematics, and so I went and became a math program champion. And my challenge to any, beginning teacher or teacher who wishes to grow their career, and be seen as a positive contributor to their school is to choose something to champion that's important, where they can contribute outside of their classroom. And at the same time, don't if you're a yoga instructor, your contribution could be contributing to, yoga after school activities for your students, or you could consider being the champion for something else that's outside of your comfort zone. And I would encourage
Mm.
people to consider something that they really wanted to learn, because the best way to learn something is to have to teach it.
Exactly.
And so why not, if you're not comfortable with technology, because we've been talking about that a lot tonight, I'll use that as an example, then volunteer for the school AI implementation team. Or if you're not comfortable, if math instruction is not your favorite thing, volunteer to be a member of the math instruction committee, or whatever has to do with that, or the math night team, or something like that. Seek an opportunity that's a little bit outside of your comfort zone. It will help you grow, and you'll be seen as a collaborator, a contributor, and your professionalism perceptions by your peers and by your bosses will be elevated. It's a great way to grow your career.
It's right. And doing all things in just one, doing a lot of things in just one thing. Throw yourself out there. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Got it. How about on your side, Mr. Peter? Any I would say advice you would give if there's anything to sum up everything you've mentioned so far?
Nothing other than what I've already said. Again, I think it's about um, building off of what was previously said. It's about
Mm-hmm.
experimenting. It's about taking risks, trying things in the classroom, reflecting on to what extent they work, making adjustments, and doing it piecemeal is what I would say.
Perfect. Last few thoughts on your side, Dr. Lisa, regarding this.
I think I always say this too. I think teaching is a calling. So I
Mm.
was meant to be a teacher. I'm from a family of teachers. I will be learning and teaching. It doesn't even have to be in the classroom. I mean, I could be at the store and just I'll talk to anybody, my daughter says. But I'm always in a way where I can help others grow and help others learn. So and I just say, just stick with it and just be confident in what you're doing. And like I said before, have grace on yourself and the people around you and patience. But it's real rewarding too. It's a calling and it's very rewarding.
Perfect, perfect. With that being said, let's take a few questions from our audience. By the way, from those who are with us, you can use the chat or the question and answer button there to ask a question to our leaders who are here for this evening. Regarding our topic, the emerging changes that are happening in 2025 when it comes to the classroom, changes or anything that you would like to clarify regarding the topic that was discussed. Anything that you would like to ask, please take this advantage. Use this to your advantage to learn more about the education field. Go ahead. We'll take a few questions from you. Let's wait for any question that are coming in. If there's any, please feel free. But yeah, while we wait for some questions to come in, I would say from my perspective, if there's one thing that I would want our teachers or our audience to take something out from this conversation is to really um throw yourself out there is one biggest thing and be adaptable. That's right there and then. Because change, one thing that's constant that I've learned in the education field is change. I think that's in life in general, but in education field, the change is, you know, there all the time. There's a question here from Ms. Fatima Bibi. Hi, please can I have your feedback on how many learners would you say is appropriate to have in your class? Anyone would like to take this? Dr. Andrew, Dr. Lisa. Let's take the perspective of Dr. Andrew as a leader of a school.
Well, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
There's a lot of contributing factors here. How many what are the needs of the students in those classrooms? What is the size of the classroom? Um, what is the what are is there a teaching assistant? What kind of resources are the children provided? And what are the backgrounds, their, the abilities and so on. But, in the international schools that I have worked in, class sizes have ranged from early primary as low as 12 to,
Nice.
Mm.
well, yes and no.
Okay.
To a maximum of really, I've had classes as high as 28, not early childhood, but high school classrooms of 28. And in both cases, the teachers were able to serve and meet the needs of those students. Ironically and interestingly enough, a lot of educational research shows that class size doesn't necessarily lead to better student achievement.
Okay. Yeah, because
It is the teaching methods and the manner in which the teachers engage the students. So if you look at some of those studies, you'll find that in states and in nations where they did reduction of class size initiatives,
yeah.
the students who were in those classes that had reduced class sizes didn't perform better unless the teachers did something different.
Mm.
If they doing the same thing with that they were doing with the large classes, with the smaller classes, they're going to get the same results.
Mhm.
All right, right. Thanks for that. I hope that answers your question. There's another question here. I would say I would like to throw to Dr. Lisa. This is regarding AI and technology as well. So they're asking, how can I encourage the students to think and use the AI effectively rather than just copying the answers from AI tools like ChatGPT? I think the same person as well, the same teacher, also mentioned that sometimes students use ChatGPT in writing their essays or doing the writing tasks. So how can we encourage students to use and think AI effectively?
This
Well,
might be a better question for Peter because I've always dealt mainly with the younger kids. So I was wondering the same thing, actually. I was thinking the
hmm.
same.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, so they're typically asking how can they as a teacher encourage their students to think and use AI effectively rather than just copying the answer straight from
Uh,
AI tools.
well, because you have to show them how to use it. I think like monitoring student behavior and setting down those boundaries is different than teaching them how to use it in the classroom. You can give a set of ground rules. You can show them. You could model it in your classroom. Like for example, I'm thinking off the top of my head. You can integrate using AI into already existing activities. Like, for example, if you're having a discussion about something, whatever the topic might be, you could you could evaluate the AI response. Like that could be an activity. Like, you
Mm.
give it a prompt, it'll spit something out, and you can analyze to what extent it's accurate or effective or reasonable or whatnot. And that's actually a fun activity. And if there's one thing that students should know about using these tools is there are hallucinations. They don't always give you what you're looking for. The information can be wrong. And so we have to use our own faculties to determine what is useful, what isn't, what is outside the bounds, right? So that's what I would say is like you can integrate it into some of the classroom activities, but without handing it over to the student to replace their thinking. I think they can work hand in hand, right? You can close the laptop and have a discussion in class, right? And then you can open the laptop and type in a prompt and have a classroom discussion about and evaluate or predict what it says, right? So that's just kind of one example.
I think
But as
there's
far as like
there's
how to do plagiarism and stuff like that, I'm not really sure. Dr. Andrew can kind of take that.
Yeah, there's a really actually a lot of resources on the web, and this is a straight up Google search. Look, you do some Google searching around AI proof assignments, and it's going to give you some ideas on how to manage that. Remember, we have to think differently now. We can't just continue to ask kids to go home and write essays. That's not cutting it anymore.
Right. Right.
An essay is a useful learning experience for students, but what are you asking them to write about? And how are you asking them to personalize and show their humanness within that process? And how maybe
Right.
can we have them use AI to help engage them in the research of those writing experiences and those research experiences, while at the same time showing critical thinking, problem solving, creativity. Let's think at the upper ends of the Bloom's taxonomy scale and less around the lower ends of it. And when you do that and you sort of reframe your thinking around, okay, well, they can do that in AI. Well, then don't do that. That's as simple as that. Just don't do that.
Yeah.
You're just telling the kids, go and do it if
Mhm.
you're going to give them something that AI can do. Because
Right.
a few of them are going to be very, very honest and not do that. You can tell them not to do it, but there'll be a few that do. And at the end of the day, shouldn't we be asking kids to think deeply, to create, to problem solve, to critically analyze? And if they're doing that, AI can't do that for them.
Right, right. So there's this goes to what our previous topic was, because with this change of perspective, change of mindset on how to tackle these things. If AI can, if you're at, if they can do it through AI, like the answer might be that you change the question, so that it's AI proof, and that's a paradigm shift, a thinking shift that needs to happen as well for teachers of 2025. Thank you for that, Dr. Lisa, Mr. Peter, Dr. Andrew. Moving on towards the next question, we have time for a few more. I would say this would be towards Dr. Lisa, especially for handling smaller kids. How can teachers adapt to support the emotional and mental health needs of students in a high-tech, fast-paced world?
Well, now we have SEL, so social emotional learning. So at our school, I know every morning, with our new schedule, every morning, the first period, every class will be doing SEL lessons. So every class that we have a program, they're giving them the information. Another thing is you see what's going on in your classroom. So those are moments, those are teachable moments. So if you see students not getting along and things like that, bring your class together, talk to them about what's going on. How would they feel? Talk about that our classroom is a community. We take care of each other, we uplift each other, and just really just talking to the students, asking their opinions, giving them scenarios. You can give them scenarios. I've been in a middle school where every Friday, they had groups, and the groups stayed together for the whole year, but they had a leader, which is usually a teacher, and they came together and they have a problem. They tell how they would solve it. They'd go around in a circle. There was usually a stuffed animal or something, but everybody got a chance to talk. And so the students that don't talk had a chance to talk and share their feelings. But just, push that it is a community. We treat each other, and my kids always did the golden rule. So I'd say, what is the golden rule? And just repeat those things. They'll have it in their head, and then it'll be funny because kids will come up and they'll say things like that. Well, what is the golden rule? So, I think somebody mentioned modeling, but modeling what good behavior is and how you treat people. And students they'll come up.
Perfect. Thanks for that answer. There's a question here as well regarding future-proofing teaching. Like, how can a teacher future-proof their teaching methods in a world of rapid technological change? I think there were some answers to this that was spread across the whole discussion. There's adaptability, learning new things one at a time when it comes to technology, and among other things as well. Being a lifelong learner, doing PDs, learning more about the education field. But yeah, this could really be the topic for our next panel discussion. But and I think anyone would like to add onto this specific question. But yeah, I think it's mostly answered throughout the whole panel discussion. There's also a question regarding
my only suggestion to that, yeah, we could have a very robust discussion about that. We should, it could be hours, but know your students. Be a relationship builder. Greet them at the door, know their families, know their backgrounds, see their cultural gifts when they come to you every day. And if you focus on them, everything else gets a whole lot easier.
I agree.
Right. And I think that also answers the question regarding special needs students. But there's a question regarding special needs students who sometimes disturb class and focus and make other students feel like there's no one to care for them. Anyone who has an experience regarding this and would like to take this forward? I think yeah. So it's quite a complicated topic, I would say. It might be even goes beyond the topic that we have set for today. But Miss Dara, I'll message you. We can have a separate conversation on how you can, I would say, tackle this question.
I can say that
Yeah, go ahead.
ties into that too. The SEL and how you treat people. And I know that in my experience, students kind of like know when other students are different. So, you might treat them different, but they understand why you give them leeway or why they're able to do certain things. So, like I said, I think SEL comes into that. How we treat people, how you want people to treat you. Because I've heard kids like be mean to other teachers or something. And I was like, I'd be like, well, what if your mom was a teacher? Would you want somebody to talk to your mom like that and things like that? But, maybe in elementary, it might be a little bit different, but I still think too, probably in high school and all those things, we have people in our families that are different. And so just bringing it to the attention. I know I have some students that didn't speak good Arabic or English. They were from other countries. And so in the beginning, they were real quiet and standoffish. They were kind of to themselves because they didn't feel comfortable. But at the end of the school year, just like me, my students were going to them and pulling them in and talking to them. And, so just modeling and showing and just talking, I think helps.
Perfect. Communication is okay. Communication definitely is the key. So that's about mostly the questions we have. The most time that we have for today for questions. But yeah, I would say any last few thoughts from anyone of the panel, Dr. Andrew? Any last few thoughts on your side? Yeah.
No, great conversation. Thank you for the great questions and the facilitation, Jan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jan.
Thank you, Jan. So much. I loved it, and I really enjoyed being on the panel. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ander, Dr. Lisa, Mr. Peter, for your wonderful insights. That brings us to the end of our discussion. It was refreshing and inspiring to hear the thoughts of our wonderful panel, from discussing the evolving roles of a teacher, talking about how AI and technology can be integrated in the classroom, the challenges teachers may face when it comes to keeping up with the pace of the to the change and to stay on top. On behalf of the organizing committee, again, I would like to extend our gratitude to our panelists in this discussion. Your individual perspective undoubtedly broadened the understanding of our audience regarding the topic, and have truly empowered our teachers here today. Again, thank you so much, Dr. Lisa, Dr. Andrew, Mr. Peter.
Have a
Feel
wonderful
free
weekend.
to
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Wonderful conversation.
It was.
Thank you so much, everyone. For those who are looking to stay, again, thank you so much for our audience for joining us on this discussion. I know it has been a self-reflective discussion, and we are all pumped to start going out and getting these keys when it comes to our growth. I would like to take at least 5 minutes of your time to discuss how the International Teachers University tackles or helps our teachers regarding these changes that are happening in the education world. Um, Right. So I would like to introduce International Teachers University to our audience, right? Just as we've heard, our panelists have enlightened us on how obtaining key skills that are, I would say, important or that are happening to the changes right now, in making sure keeping up to date, and making sure our profile is really strong, really competitive, and really is student focused. So this is why International Teachers University is built. It is a university solely focused on teachers development, and hence the name. So just a quick glimpse, International Teachers University offers the Masters in Education program. And a quick glimpse into that tells us that this is a 12-month program. It's delivered online, so you don't have to come towards in the US. It is considered as the first Masters in Education program built upon international standards. So there is focus on the recent developments of teaching, techniques that are being used right now in the education field. So it's focused on supporting teachers' advancement. So that's also towards their career and preparing teachers for future challenges in the classroom. Again, we know that education is ever changing, so that's the main focus right now of like the international teachers and this masters in education. So it provides the freedom of working and doing further studies. So for those who feel like they do not have time to leave, or they're not able to leave their current work to do or to pursue a masters in education program, this might be an answer for you. So when we talk about like the learning experience of the masters in education, the learning experience in the program revolves around hybrid learning mode. So it's going to be online. It's there to build up your skill evidence portfolio. Mr. Peter touched on it earlier about building your portfolio, skill evidence, so that you can use that for your to I would say future proof your career in the education field. It's there as well to apply your learning to real world scenarios, to even holding your own very own master class and panel discussion just like this, right? You'll have a chance to hold your own panel discussion, speak with professionals, prepare your own webinars or master classes. So that's kind of like how the learning experience looks like. So if we talk about like the fee structure, again, this is very important as well because we want to look at the I would say the practicality of it. But don't worry, there are scholarships available for teachers just as this one's President Director's Distinguished Practitioner Scholarship. There is a poll that will be coming up on your screen right now. So this is just a question for our teachers who are interested for the Masters in Education program. Would you like to speak with our admission advisor, have a conversation on how this Masters in Education program can help you out when it comes to tackling the challenges right now that are happening in the education field, right? Our team would love to speak with you. If not, then that's no problem. Maybe later, that's no problem as well. Yeah. Right. And yeah, our team would love to have a conversation with you about discussing how this program can fit for like your overall needs. But other than that, that's mostly it from my side. Right. Thank you so much for joining in this discussion. Thank you so much for staying in to have this conversation with me with us. But yeah, let me see if there's anything. Yeah. That's about most it. Thank you so much. There's a link on the chat right now. If you would like to you yourself book an advisory session and have a conversation with our team, you can choose your timing there as well. There's a link. Feel free to use it. Okay. Got it. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening. It's been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for staying in. Have a great weekend ahead. Bye bye.